just got the new chapter 1122. I got some stuff from Joy Boy, from Emmett. You know what I'm saying? I actually want to talk about that chapter, but I'm not going to do it in this video. And overall, this shit is just getting good. I mean, we're in Egghead right now. We're about to head to Elbaf soon. Hockey is something that it's its own thing. It's crazy because what the fuck is hockey? Like, Joy Boy was able to seal it inside of Emmett. And then when Emmett had released it, when he was talking to Luffy, it made the Gorosei disappear. It made the Gorosei go back to Mary Joie. All I'm saying is there's a lot more to hockey than we know. Personally, I'm under the impression that you can seal hockey into a sword to make a black blade. Like, unless Mihawk really did paint his blade black, I think that's what he did. And then now that I think about it, why doesn't Shanks have a black blade? I mean, I'm not saying that he needs one, but it would make a lot of sense if he did. And what's crazy is that there's so many different facets of hockey, like observation, armament, conquerors, advanced armament. I want to say advanced observation because you can see into the future. You know what I'm saying? Luffy, Katakuri, Shanks. I'm sure many other people can do it too. Not many, but you know, I know for sure Mihawk should be able to do it though. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm gonna go on a tangent real quick. I believe Mihawk is stronger than Shanks. I'ma just say it flat out. I'm a Mihawk over Shanks kind of person. However, I like Shanks' character more than I like Mihawk's character. Just so y'all know where I stand on that. I'm willing to argue with each and every one of y'all because I believe Mihawk is up here, Shanks is like right here. You know what? I'm gonna shut up. We're here to talk about the 12 finalists of One Piece. Number 12, you got Buggy. So the thing about Buggy, right? Buggy is a wild card. And what I mean by that is, although he's not strong, he always ends up finding a way. This man went from regular fodder pirate who got beat up by pre-time skip Luffy to being a damn Yonko. Like, how do you do that? This man stumbled onto that shit. And on paper, he has a lot of qualifications. Like, you know, him and Shanks were on the same crew at one point. They were both on the King of the Pirates, Roger's ship. During Marineford, he was talking to, you know, the Whitebeard as if he was an equal. He was one of the masterminds that broke out of Impel Down. The only other person that broke out of Impel Down was Shiki. You know what I mean? So that's a feat within itself. I mean, of course, they had a lot of help, but we're talking paper here. Not to mention, he had a bunch of prisoners following him after the Impel Down breakout. When the Marines and the world government heard about all this going on, they was like, hey, yo, let's make Buggy a warlord because I think he could really help us out. Honestly, like, you know, the world government and the Marines, they don't really know much about Buggy, but hearing and seeing all of these things, I think they were pretty smart for bringing Buggy in, although they don't know that he's weak as shit. The thing about Buggy, though, is that he's really resourceful. Like, you know, he's the kind of person that he can turn shit into sugar, for lack of a better word. Now, it's mainly because his luck meter is all the way up here, but you can't take that away from him, bro. It's still a feat. But because Buggy's luck is so high, that's why I consider him the wild card, because quite honestly, I believe that he is the one person that could potentially find the One Piece before even Luffy does. That brings us to number 11, which is Kobe, my boy Kobe. Man, the thing about Kobe, right, was you remember at the very beginning, you know, he started off as a chump, a straight chump. He was weak. He was kind of fat, chunky, you know, really short. He would get pushed around all the time by Alvida and the Alvida Pirates. After he had met Garp, this man went from little bitch to I'll take your bitch. Quite honestly, you know, I think Kobe is definitely one of my favorite characters. He's one of my favorite characters because of his exponential growth. I saw where he had came from to where he is now. You know, in the manga, this man is doing galaxy impacts like Garp. If I'm being honest, I think this man grew faster than Luffy. He's not stronger than Luffy, but his growth is just as fast as Luffy's. You know, Garp considers him to be the future of the Marines. That's a title that, you know, he only gave to Aokiji at one point. And Aokiji's with the Blackbeard Pirates right now. So considering that Kobe is basically carrying the torch from Garp, and that, you know, he's pretty much the future of the Marines, One Piece is coming to an end. Now, he might be number 11 on this list, and he's not as strong as a lot of the other people on this list. But think about where he is now, and then think about where he could be, say, like 10 years in the future. He's definitely going to reach Admiral status, if not Fleet Admiral. Now, it's not confirmed whether or not Kobe has Conqueror's Haki, I personally think that he might have Conqueror's Haki. Now, I know for a fact he has observation. I know he has armament. I'm pretty sure he has advanced armament too. Now, at number 10, we have Sabo. This is my thing, bro. I don't think Sabo is stronger than Ace was, especially because he doesn't really have any Conqueror's Haki feats, and it was confirmed that Ace had Conqueror's Haki. But, you know, considering that he's the number 2 of the Revolutionary Army, I'd say it's pretty up there. He deserves to be on this list. Now, where I rank Sabo at in terms of strength has to be somewhere like, you know, I want to say first commander level, maybe. I'm not going to say second commander level because I think he's beating somebody like the likes of Queen. My thing is, I'm not really sure, you know, how he would stack up to the likes of King or even Katakuri. Like, how would Sabo stack up against Zoro? Now, I'm going to give you my answer straight up. It wouldn't be an easy fight. It would be like a high diff to extreme diff kind of fight. But I think Zoro will win that. Nonetheless, Sabo is still strong as shit. The thing that he had did at Marriage Wild when he was trying to break out Kuma, you know, when he was fighting Fujitora, he can hold off an admiral. He can hold off a couple of admirals, maybe. I don't think he would win, but he could definitely do his thing. Kind of like how Marco was holding off King and Queen. Now, if Sabo was to fight an admiral, it's hard to say whether or not he would win. Like, sure, you can put him up against somebody like Green Bull. He has fire. Green Bull has, you know, the power of nature and shit like that. But Green Bull has, you know, protective measures against fire. Now, this is my thing about Sabo. I don't think Sabo is necessarily that much stronger than King. I think he would beat King. But if he was to fight King and Queen at the same time, I think Sabo would lose that fight. Green Bull was handling King and Queen at the same time and thrashed these niggas. And sure, you can say that they were injured, but they had like 7 days to heal up, and they're Zoan users. You know, Zoan users, they bounce back quick. But then again, you have a feat, you know, when there was that Dressrosa, when Sabo was fighting Fujitora at that time. And he was going toe-to-toe with Fujitora, but I think personally Fujitora was holding back. Kind of like when Fujitora was fighting Luffy or fighting Zoro, and he was holding back both of those times. Because quite honestly, I think if Fujitora didn't hold back, he was liable to destroy that entire island, but he was trying to save the island. And, you know, now that I think about it, admirals hold back a lot, because when, you know, Aokiji and Akainu had fought each other at Punk Hazard, they tattered that entire island. They basically destroyed it. And at Marineford, they didn't have any kind of showing of that. I think Akainu and Aokiji, and maybe even Kizaru, was holding back. Like, Fujitora just casually brought down the meteorite when he was fighting Law. I say all that to say, I don't think Sabo is quite Admiral level, but I do think that he's at least first commander level, which is why he is number 10 on this list. A lot of people like to hate on Sabo. They like to call him, you know, Diet Ace. They try to make it seem like Sabo is a fill-in for Ace. I don't think that that's the case. Sabo is and always was his own character. Sabo comes from nobility. He comes from, you know, a different type of struggle. He was raised as somebody that he didn't want to be. He wanted to be a rascal. I mean, to be honest, his parents were kind of smothering him. You know, now, I don't think that his parents were wrong. They were basically trying to keep his ass out the streets. At the same time, though, knowing what we know, it was probably best that Sabo had took the route that he did, because, you know, being the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, being Luffy's brother, he's going to play a major part in this fucking story. I don't think that that's something that Ace could have done. You know, to me, I feel like if Luffy wasn't the main character, then Ace would have been the main character. But since Ace wasn't the main character and Luffy is, Ace doesn't really have a cause. I think his main cause was to be a plot device. Something to, you know, make Luffy grow further, to give Luffy some character development. It does make me sad, though, that Ace had to die the way that he did, because Ace was my favorite character for a long time. Almost like Luffy, but a little more toned down. He actually has manners. Luffy ain't got no fucking manners. Anyway, my boy Sabo, yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite characters, too. And that brings us to our number 9 character, which is Garling. So, now it's speculated that Garling is Shanks' dad, in that, you know, he's the leader of the Holy Knight. He was pretty relevant during the Roger days, you know, Roger, Garling, Whitebeard, people like that, Rayleigh. And I'm pretty sure he was strong as shit at that time too. But the reason why I put him ahead of Sabo is because he's the leader of the Holy Knights. He's part of the old guard. You know, he was going toe-to-toe with the likes of Roger. You know, being the protectors of the Celestial Dragons, you gotta be tough. You gotta be like a monster. And being that he's Shanks' dad, Usually, whenever you have a strong character and then that strong character has a father, 9 times out of 10, that character's father is strong as hell. With all that being said, being that he's part of the old guard, I think that he may be a little weaker than he was in his prime. So, he probably went from being like maybe Yonko level or even, just somewhere around there to being like maybe somewhere around the Admiral tier. Again, I want y'all to understand me when I say this. Between the Yonkos and the Admirals, I believe that Yonkos and Admirals are comparable. I do think that one is stronger than the other, but not by much. Like, I believe that on average, if a Yonko was to take on an Admiral, the Yonko would win. But I don't necessarily think it would take 2 Admirals to beat a Yonko. I think an Admiral could beat a Yonko if they got the upper hand. Like, say if Akainu was to fight somebody like Big Mom, I think eventually Akainu would win that fight, but I don't think it would be easy. I think it would be pretty comparable. Now, let's say Kaido were to fight Akainu. I think Kaido would win that fight, but I don't think that Kaido would win that fight unscathed. So a lot of people try to make it seem like the Yonko are just gods, basically. The Yonko bleed, obviously. We've seen Wano. We've seen what happened to Wano. When it comes to the Yonko and the Admirals, I think that the people that say it will take 2 or 3 Admirals to beat 1 Yonko, y'all are smoking something good, and I need some of that. And then hook your boy up with some of that za. No, I'm playing. But y'all might bring up the fact that Shanks had scared Green Bull off, but you got to think about the circumstances, right? Green Bull was up there in Wano by himself. He didn't have any, other Marines with him at that time. And you got to keep in mind that Luffy was there, and then Shanks showed up. You're not going to want to fight 2 Yonko at one time. Not only that, but why take that risk? Why fight 2 Yonko at once? And if you really want me to keep it a buck with you, I don't even think Green Bull is the strongest Admiral. I think he's the weakest Admiral, probably. He might be even weaker than Fujitora. Now, if you ask somebody like, Aokiji, who used to be an Admiral at that time, he might run away. But if it was just Shanks or if it was just Luffy, I think he'd be willing to fight. And again, you smoking something crazy if you think that Shanks can just one-shot Aokiji like that, or any Admiral. But yeah, man, I say that to say that I think Garland is around that level. I think that he's at least Admiral tier. I don't think he's quite Yonko tier. It's kind of like if you take somebody like Garp or Sengoku, somewhere around that level, like the old guard. You take Marineford, and if I'm being quite honest, I think Garp and Sengoku both were stronger than Whitebeard at that time. Because, Whitebeard he wasn't in his prime. He was old, he was sick. He was hooked up to all of these things to keep himself alive. And then when he tried to use Conqueror's Haki to stop the guards from killing Ace, he had a heart attack whenever he did it. Which proves my theory about how, I think as people get older, they get weaker. They still are strong as hell. They just get a little bit weaker. And that's what I think happened to Garland. I consider Whitebeard to be the strongest of his generation, and being that Whitebeard had got so weak, and now I believe Garp is above Whitebeard, like at Marineford. I'm talking Marineford. Yeah, Garling is probably definitely at that level. I think number 9 is a fair place for Garling, especially because we really don't know anything about him. Which brings us to our number 8 spot, which is the Mystery Man. Now, we don't know who the Mystery Man is. All we know is that it's a silhouette that's holding a sword. And, when they show characters like that, usually they're important. Like Oda said himself, he's a finalist, in this entire game. And being that he's connected to Garling and that he's connected to the Figureland family, I think he has a lot of strength to him too. So I'm pretty sure he's younger than what Garling is. And he could be somebody that's in his prime right now. And, for those reasons alone, that's the reason why I put him above Garling. Now, I do have a theory. Now, a lot of people speculate that this person could be Shanks' twin brother or even twin sister or something like that. Now, my theory is that this person is probably a clone of Garling. I believe that this could be either a clone of Garling or even a clone of Shanks. If you think about it, maybe Garling was such a good Holy Knight that they wanted to keep him around. And being that he's getting older, he's getting, up there in them years. 1, he was such a good soldier. And 2, he was so loyal to the Gorosei, the Celestial Dragons and all that, that they wanted to keep this nigga around. So it was like, hey, yo, Vegapunk, I need you to go ahead and make us a clone of this dude. And the reason why I said it could be Shanks is because maybe Shanks was kind of a disappointment to Garling. You know, ever since Shanks was found in that treasure chest by by Roger, Garling was like, you know, that's still my son. I want my son to be around. I want to teach him my ways, and I want him to be just like me. So I'm going to try to make a clone of him. That way I got him by my side. Somebody that can one day take over my spot as the leader of the Holy Knight. And then being Shanks is as strong as he is, it would also make sense to, you know, clone Shanks. Because why wouldn't you want to? Like, if I was in the position that the Gorosei were in, I would definitely clone Shanks. I would try to clone all the Yonko. Now, maybe Shanks had came around, you know, and then he had left traces of his DNA, which is how they were able to clone Shanks. I feel like it's more likely that it would be Garling's clone, but it could also be Shanks's too. Like, yeah, my theory is that it's probably a clone, because we have been talking about clones for a long time. Like I said, you know, Stussy, we found out that she was a clone. We found out that, you know, the Seraphim are clones, and then there are the fact that, you know, there are a bunch of Vegapunks and stuff like that. So I think this man is a clone. That brings us to our number 7 spot, which is Kuzan. Now, Aokiji has been one of my favorite characters for a long time. You know, I remember when he was first introduced, when he had frozen the entire ocean, was like, hey, y'all can walk across, it's gonna be frozen for about a week. And he did that shit so casually. I was like, how strong is this man? To mention when he had put the paws on all the straw hats, I was like, oh yeah, this nigga the GOAT. And then to find out that he's actually an admiral, it had me thinking, like, how strong are the admirals actually? Because I remember Kobe saying that he wanted to be an admiral of the Marines. That means that Kobe has to get to that level, at least, you know, if he wants to be top tier. Not only that, but this man was so strong that he needed Garp to train him, because no other Marine could teach him things that he needed to know. So, you know, he was Garp's prodigy at one point. This man went toe-to-toe with Akainu and fought 10 days with this dude. And then there's the fact that, you know, when he had showed up at Punk Hazard, when he had froze Doflamingo during the Dressrosa arc, and Doflamingo didn't want no smoke with this nigga. Doflamingo was willing to go toe-to-toe with Fujitora, but he didn't want to smoke with Aokiji. If I'm being 100% honest, I think the OG Admirals might actually be stronger than the newer Admirals, you know, Fujitora and Rimbo. I don't think that they're that much stronger than them. All right, let's think about Devil Fruits, right? Aokiji's Devil Fruit. This man has the power of cold, not ice, but cold. He had went up against his weakness, which is Akainu's power, you know, magma. He fought this man for 10 days. Personally, I believe that it could have went either way. I don't think Akainu is just definitively stronger than Aokiji. I just think Akainu had got the upper hand. It's so hard to say who is stronger than who between Akainu and Aokiji, because we just don't know anything about their fight. We don't have any type of information about it. All we know is that they showed up to Punk Hazard, and, you know, that was putting the paws on each other. That was throwing hands. For all we know, it could have been a draw, and then they just agreed to, you know, go their separate ways. Maybe during their fight, Aokiji had a realization about the government and what it truly was about. You know, I know that he knows the fucking Celestial Dragons are assholes. Maybe he doesn't want to work for those kind of people, especially with him being Garp's prodigy. You know, he has his own goals, his own ambitions right now. He probably carried a little bit of Garp's will. Garp does not like the Celestial Dragons. And being that Garp doesn't like them, I'm pretty sure, you know, Aokiji was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go take care of some kind of business to help take down the Celestial Dragons. And maybe that's the reason why he had joined Whitebeard's crew. Or not Whitebeard, Blackbeard's crew. Because Blackbeard's ambitions and Aokiji's ambitions, they might align. And it's gonna result in, you know, a new era. I don't think Aokiji is a bad person. I think he had joined the Blackbeard Pirates for his own reasons. You know, he's not necessarily trying to help Blackbeard become the king, you know, the king of the pirates, or even the king of the world. But at the same time, helping Blackbeard means helping himself. And I think the only thing that Aokiji really wants most in this world is just some justice. He's tired of seeing all the pain and all the heartache. He's tired of seeing the Celestial Dragons fuck the everyday people up. You know, he's tired of having to take on these missions that he doesn't want to take on, you know, especially like Ohara, where they have to destroy that entire island. I think You know, that's the reason why he had let Nico Robin go. That's the reason why Nico Robin is alive right now and a part of the Straw Hats. I think Aokiji has always felt that way. He just didn't know how to go about it. But then Blackbeard ended up showing up and is like, you know what? I have my chance and I'm going to take it. I'm not going to miss it. It ain't perfect, but it's something. You know, honestly, as quiet as it's kept, I'm pretty sure Kuzan hates the fact that he's working with Blackbeard right now. But he is the kind of person that's going to do what he has to do to meet his goals. And that's why he is one of the people that are on this list. One of the contenders, one of the 12. If it wasn't for Aokiji, Nico Robin would be dead right now. Therefore, Luffy wouldn't really have a way to find the One Piece. Honestly, I think Aokiji wants the Straw Hats to find the One Piece. You know, there's so many different times where he could have killed all the Straw Hats. He could have killed Nico Robin, but he didn't because Aokiji wants there to be a change in the world. He wants there to be a new era. Which also explains why he didn't kill Saul. He definitely could have killed Saul if he wanted to. He could have did it like that. But all he did was freeze him, waited until everything was over, and then, you know, Saul, you know, he thawed out, the ice thawed, and then Saul got away. Saul is still alive. You know, he's ushering into that new era. He's trying to keep the newer generation alive. Maybe not all of them, but he's definitely pushing for that. He is pushing the Straw Hats to move forward. He's, you know, trying to keep as many good people alive as he can. He doesn't want another O'Hara incident. All he wants is some justice. That's all he wants. Hey, think about this, right? What the hell was Aokiji doing on Punk Hazard at the time that Doflamingo and Smoker were fighting? You know, he just showed up out of nowhere, froze Doflamingo, saved Smoker. I think he saved Smoker more than because Smoker was his friend. I think he saved Smoker because, you know, Smoker is going to be one of those people that's going to help usher into a better era than that Aokiji himself envisions for the future. Smoker is going to help usher into that because Smoker is a good Marine. People might talk a lot of shit about Smoker. He might not be as strong as a lot of the other characters, but, you know, he has a good heart. He has a good soul. He's not one of those Marines that's going to bring chaos into the world. He's trying to stop all that chaos. Aokiji is definitely going to do whatever it takes to meet his goals. He's going to work with bad people. He's going to work with good people. He's going to save all the people that he can. He's going to allow the Straw Hats to become that king's crew. You know, he's going to allow Luffy to become king of the pirates. He's probably going to turn on Blackbeard one day whenever a goal is met. But yeah, man, Kuzan is strong as shit. It goes without saying that Kuzan is really strong. I don't even have to go into all of his feats because we already know.